Press play.
Replay, replay, replay.
You're watching Play Replay with Async. Today I want to do a review of the movie SISU, or SISU, SISU, whatever. I'm not from that country. I'm not Finnish, so I don't know how to say that name, I guess, properly, but I think that's how you say it. SISU. So anyway, this was a movie I watched. I rented this recently. I wanted to go see it in the theater when it was out in the theater. I don't think it was out in a lot of theaters, but it was a pretty rare. It wasn't a very I don't think it was everywhere. So I don't think that this is a movie that a lot of people seen. And I tend to like movies that kind of are kind of independent and kind of not so popular, I guess, because then they don't have to do all the woke crap, and they don't have to bend over for these elites or this government agenda to push so and so, such and such stuff and division in movies. And this movie, I first heard reviews about it from like Nerderotic and stuff like that, and Chris Gore and all that stuff online, and then I was like, wow, this sounds like it's actually what I assumed that it is when I seen the commercial. So then I was like, okay, maybe I should watch this movie whenever it comes out. So because of that, I decided that I'm going to watch this movie and give a review, even though it probably is a late review, because I'm sure a lot of people have already reviewed this thing. It's been in theaters and it's past its thing, and now it's out for rental. So I rented it last night, and I thought, well, I should just give a review on it, because I like to give reviews, and I like to promote movies that are not woke and full of crap and full of agendas and all this stuff. And I like to just kind of give you movies to watch while Hollywood is burning right now. And usually it's older movies, because older movies seem like they don't have that agenda as much as the newer ones. Pretty much all of them have something to push on people. So I usually advise people to take and watch older movies in general. But this one here is a newer movie, and that is a good sign that we're getting some people that actually care about making movies and doing things right. Now, I don't know too many people, I don't really know any people that are going to really dislike what happens in this movie, because Nazis are evil, and we tend to not want Nazis, even though we kind of have Nazis trying to run the world at the World Economic Forum right now, but that's beside the point. So this movie really just kind of shows you a little bit of what the mindset of the Nazis were right at the end of the war, which is kind of interesting. I'd never seen a movie really talking about that or showing that. Now, the movie is not accurate, I'll say, because it's not in, like, the Nazis are not speaking German in the movie, so you can understand this. If you're an English speaker, you're going to understand this movie just fine. There's not a lot of words from the main character, though, but I think that's cool and everything. But the Nazis, when they speak in English. They speak English. They don't speak German. So you get to actually watch the movie, and you don't have to read and all that stuff. You could just fully enjoy this movie, because trust me, when this movie starts to the end, this is a great movie. I'm going to say this right up front. This is one of my favorite movies already. So I'm going to spoil the movie too. So I don't know. It's been out for a while, so whatever. If you don't like the spoilers, it's not like super spoilery, but it's a movie that you could probably do without the spoilers if you've never seen it. But even if you get spoiled on this movie, trust me, watch the movie. You will enjoy this movie immensely. If you like R-rated violence, Nazis getting destroyed and killed in horrible ways, and bad guys being taken down for doing terrible things to people, you'll like this movie, because this movie makes you feel good all the way around, because bad guys are being removed from society in this movie. So anyway, the movie came out in April 28th, 2023, I guess, and the movie cost $6 million to make. which is not a lot of money. Very cool. And the movie, I guess it at the box office it made 13 million. I haven't done any backup checks on that, but that's what it says on the if you look it up on the internet. And this movie takes place in 1944. And oh, also the time. The movie is an hour and 31 minutes long, so it's not super long either. So that's also a plus. You're in and you're out. Trust me, when you're watching this movie, there's parts that you want to continue a little bit longer. And when the movie's all done, said and done, you kind of wish that some of the parts of the movie should have been a little bit longer. But everything gets filled in fairly well, and it's all explained really well, and you understand what's going on. So. But it takes place in the last days of the Nazis, like I said, in World War II, and it's in the movie takes place in Lapland, North Finland. So it's not anything American. It's not anything like European. It's literally in Finland. And anyway, that's cool. I think I like the fact that it takes place in another place other than what we're used to getting, which is nice. But I'm sure the award ceremonies won't give this thing an award because there's not enough color. There's not enough different races and diversity in this film because, in Finland they have so many different diverse colored people, black people, Indian people. I have all these different people in 1944. Wrong. That's not realistic history, but okay. So this movie stays true to the historical stuff and keeps it real. So anyway, and this movie has 6 chapters. I have read online that it has 7, but I don't remember 7. I think it just has 6. And you'll know the chapters because they will flash up into the center, like across the whole entire screen. Giant. And the name of the chapter. And it's really cool I just love how they break this thing down in nice and orderly fashion. The chapters. And you just know, when something, when a segment of the movie ends and then a new one begins because you got this giant thing telling you the chapter and then you go on. It just, the way this movie is made, it's just amazing. So anyway, the first one is Gold. That's the first chapter. And the next one after that is The Nazis. The next one after that is The Minefield. And the next one after that is The Legend. And the next one after that is Scorched Earth. And the last one is Kill Them All. So you can kind of see where this is going just from the chapters. But the first chapter basically is just about this guy who's an old war vet, basically, that he's like a super commando. And he just left everything behind. I guess his family died, was killed or whatever. I imagine they're killed by Nazis. I don't know. But he left and he just went out into the wilderness and just went off the grid completely and left everything behind. And now this guy's out there with his dog and his horse and he's looking for gold. And it's kind of cool. And you see him he actually finds gold and you could see this guy doesn't talk in this movie. There's not any words from this guy I have to say that because I am amazed at this movie because of how wonderful it is that the main character does not say anything throughout this whole movie until like right at the end, and it's not very much. Anyway, and you get this guy, you get everything from just how he reacts and how he acts, and there's no words. He doesn't have to say anything, and you just know what's going on just through that. Now that is art to me. That is real acting. You don't see that in anything. So that's why I just love this freaking movie. It's not just that. There's so much to this movie. But before I go off on a tangent talking about all this, so the first chapter is gold, and like I said, he finds gold, and then he's got to take it into town. Now the Nazis have been destroying the towns, so keep that in mind. So the next chapter is The Nazis. Now you get this little band of this unit of Nazis traveling with one tank and there's like 50 soldiers, I would say there. Anyway, and they got like a little motorcycle, a tank, and a truck that hauls soldiers, and then another truck that hauls slaves, sex slaves, because they got these women that they basically captured, and they keep them in this one truck, enclosed or whatever. So that's their little unit, and they're just kind of traveling down, and they're going to the front lines. And you come to find out that they know that they're losing the war, and they know that if they continue going forward, they're gonna hang. You know, they're gonna die because they know that they're losing the war. But they're still heading that way. And then they find this guy. Now the guy's name is, I'm gonna butcher his name. I'm sure I'm going to butcher this name, but it's spelled Atami. Atami. I'm not good with these foreign words, foreign names. I'm sorry. I'm very bad at it. But anyway, so that's the guy that we're following through the whole movie that doesn't talk. He's a super soldier that's amazing, older guy. Anyway, so that guy is just kind of horsebacking, and he's got his gold. He's got lots of gold in a bag, and he's just kind of heading into town. And he actually stares down these Nazis, and he walks right up to the tank where the main, like the SS officer, is literally looking at him. And they kind of eyeball each other, and he continues on the horseback, just going down the road. And then, you get the Nazi that they go, well, should we kill him? And he's like, no, he's heading to death, because if you keep going toward that direction, that's where all the Nazis have destroyed everything, and there's Nazis destroying everything. So he's basically heading to what you call death. And also you find out later that there's also not just Nazis that cool him. But I'll get into that in a minute. So he just passes these guys, and they don't do anything, which is just a cool little moment. And then you get into the next chapter, the minefield. Now this is the other part I was talking about, where not just Nazis will kill you. So he gets to a place where there's a minefield, and it's really messed up, because I even swear to God the horse can act in this movie. Because if you watch this movie and you watch how this horse is walking, it almost looks like the horse is walking like it feels like scared of something. And then you're just like, man, is this... I mean, because he passes by a bunch of people that are like they have these poles, like light poles or whatever they are. Anyway, and signposts or whatever. Anyway, and you see people hanging on those. There's like nooses around their neck and everything. And as the horse is passing through there, the way the horse is walking, I swear to God, the horse is even acting. Like the horse is scared, like from the smell of blood or death or whatever. Anyway, and then you get to the point where he's walking, and then you find a minefield, and the horse blows up with him on it. And now you know where you kind of feel... This is basically sets the tone for the whole movie, because just the gore, like the horse is blown to pieces. He's on it. He falls off. Obviously, the horse took the brunt of the explosion, but now he's on the ground, and he has to gather up his gold and everything. Anyway, you just see that this whole thing go past, Oh, I think I messed it up. Before he gets to the minefield, boy, I am messing this. Anyway, he runs across some Nazis, and a couple of them. There's like 3 of them, or whatever. Anyway, and these guys literally want to steal his gold. So these guys literally go and take his bag and all this stuff, and they're harassing him, and then they're going to kill him and take the gold. And then he literally puts his knife through the main guy's head. And this is one of the places where you get to start seeing the violence. And he kills the other Nazis, whatever. He's on his way. And then he gets on his horse. And then he's heading, after that, toward the minefield. So I'm sorry I messed the order up. But anyway, and he gets to the minefield. The horse is dead because it got blown up. And then the Nazis that he passed, like looking at them, the little squad of Nazis with the girls that are slaves. Well, they heard all this nonsense happening because you're in a giant field. Anyway, and then they came back, and then they see him picking up his gold. And they let him pick up his gold and bag it first, because they want to kill him, obviously, because they think that he killed those Nazis, obviously. So he also, by the way, he sent his dog away in the encounter with the first 3 Nazis or whatever. So the dog is gone now. The dog ran away, and I love this dog. And through the whole movie, you're thinking, are they going to kill this dog? Because if they're going to kill this dog, this movie sucks. Well, they don't kill it. I'll just spoil it right now. They don't kill the dog through the movie, but you feel like they're going to at some point. You really feel close to. You feel a lot like he's gonna die at some point in this movie. But anyway, so you get the dog or whatever gets away, but this guy gets. They want to go and get him out of the minefield or whatever. So of course the main SS soldier, German or whatever, general, whatever he is, anyway, sends one of his guys, and he gets blown up when he throws one of the mines at his freaking head. And it just literally blows him up. Now there's smoke. And then the same thing keeps happening and happening. And eventually, this is the part where there's like a flaw in the story, I think. Because this part is bizarre, because they keep sending soldiers, they die, whatever, like 3 or 4 of them. Anyway, and then eventually they can't find them because of the smoke that keeps happening every time this happens, so they can't see them. So anyway, they put the 2 girls from their little rape slave girls. They put 2 of them in the front of the vehicles as they keep going down the road. And at that point, I'm like, they said that they put all the mines in. So in other words, there's more mines. But for some reason, I guess there wasn't that many mines, but he said all. So I'm assuming it's a lot of mines. I don't know. So anyway, they moved to the next chapter, though. And it's like the minefield thing wasn't very long. So that's kind of weird. But the movie's not bad. I mean, I can forgive that. That is like the littlest thing to complain about in this movie, because this is great. But anyway, then you move to the next chapter, the legend. And then you find out that the Nazis find out the history on this guy. And they find out that this guy's family died or whatever. And he left the war and left everything. And he just went away. And then he left his family died and everything, and then he went off and joined, like, he became like a unit all to himself, and they would just send him in to kill Russians back in the day, and he killed more than 300 Russians all by himself, I guess. So that's amazing. Anyway, and then he eventually went off the grid and went into where you see him now, and this is the beginning of this movie, I guess. So they find this out, so they kind of feel like this guy's a legend. And then they're told by their commanding officer that they have to continue going forward to the front lines, whoever. And the SS officer that's in charge of the unit says, no, we're going to follow this guy, because this guy has taken out too many of our guys, kind of, prideful thing. So, okay, and then anyway, they continue on trying to find this guy, and then they go through all this, there's a bunch of stuff that happens. But I just wanted to cover the legend part, because they did tell you the legend of this guy, that he basically refuses to die, and he just never will give up, and he's just invincible practically. He can get shot and he will just not give up. Well, eventually they okay, and the next chapter is called Scorched Earth or whatever, but he basically gets, they catch, I'm not gonna go on forever here, but I'm realizing what time it is. But they catch this guy, and then they hang him eventually, and they use his dog to get his attention, because they catch his dog or whatever. They find his dog anyway, and you think they're gonna kill the dog, of course, and then they don't. They use the dog to whine or whatever, to call that he comes out, out of hiding at one place, and then you find out that the dog's being used to get him to come out. And then they hang this guy, and it's amazing how this guy just like holds his breath or whatever. I don't know how but anyway, they string him up. They don't break his neck when they hang him. So anyway, and then they think that he's dead because he stops moving or whatever. They give their little salutes to him kind of mockingly. Anyway, and then they go away, and then he actually gets like his foot on a freaking nail that's sticking out of the pole or whatever, and he finds his way down one way or another. Eventually, an airplane lands and kind of shakes the ground where anyway, and then the pole breaks, like turns sideways, and he falls off. Anyway, and the dog is there, of course, and anyway, and then he eventually takes the airplane crashes it in front of their unit when they get way up closer to the front lines. And this is where this movie is just nonstop crazy. And he ends up getting in and rescuing the girls, and gets the one girl the keys to one of the vehicles, and she starts driving. Anyway, he just starts killing people, and there's this little story from the girls or whatever talking about this guy. They're like the Finnish legend about this guy, and she's like, this guy will not die. He refuses to die. Anyway, and she scares the soldiers. Anyway, and then all said and done, they basically, the soldiers are dying left and right, and this guy's butchering all of them all by himself pretty much. And he's helping the girls to get free. And eventually it gets down to the main SS officer, and he gets away. He's trying to get away from hanging, and from getting caught by all the troops around the world that are going to put him down. So he gets on a plane with this other guy. The other guy gets shot right away. And then, of course, the main character, he literally climbs, he pulls a Tom Cruise and literally uses his pick from his pickaxe type of thing from mining, and climbs onto the bottom of the plane and kind of uses that, and he pounds his way and gets into the plane while it's flying. So this is amazing. This is crazy. So he beats the crap out of these guys. He kills the main SS guy, and whatever. The plane, of course, crashes because the guy flying the plane got shot in the neck. He's still bleeding, and then he dies, and in a plane crash, or that guy dies or whatever, and the plane is starting to crash. And the main character goes in the back and ties himself or whatever in the far back of the plane, and the plane goes down. It crashes into this muddy, swampy area, and he survives. And I'm not going to tell you about all the violent, like, bullets and all the crap that he had to dig out of himself throughout this movie, but this guy survives. So then he gets his, whatever, he basically gets his gold, whatever, because that's what he was going to the plane for, because they stole his gold. Anyway, and then he basically gets on a horse, whatever, and you see, like, some time pass, I imagine, because this is the part that's another little kind of down part I didn't really understand, is the dog ends up with him somehow. I don't understand, because he left the dog back at a certain place, so I don't know if he went back there, I don't know. But he basically ends up on this little motorcycle with a sidecar, and you see the dog with him. And then he finally gets to a city after he killed all the Nazis, and he freed the girls, and the girls got the tank now all to themselves. And he goes to the bank and drops the gold, and then he speaks and he says something about the gold. And then you don't get any words, and that's the end of the movie. So, yeah, I kind of took too long explaining this movie. I don't know why I went into every detail. But, yeah, that's a spoiler review, but this movie's just great. I just love this movie. This movie is one of my favorites. I haven't seen a movie like this in a long time. And, I mean, I don't really like gory movies, but this movie is violent, gory, but it's just done so well how they do this. This is a man's movie. I mean, this is a man's movie. If you're a dude who likes guns and violence and guys saving people and trying to save the women, there's none of that woke crap in this movie. The girls are not overtaking this main guy. He literally is saving them. He's doing a good thing. He's doing his job as a man, and he's trying just to get to the bank. That's really all he's doing. He's trying to get to the bank. But anyway, this is a long review. I've already gone on for way too long. So anyway, just tell me what you think of this movie. If you've seen it, tell me what you think in the comments. I'd really like to hear your thoughts on this movie, because I really love this movie. I just can't get enough of this movie. I want to own this movie, I think. So I'm just glad that there's new movies coming out like this. But tell me what you think in the comment section below, and like, share, and subscribe.